Hello and welcome back to Squatman mode. Now in case you missed it, Squatman mode is where we are playing the point and click adventure game Old School Runescape, but with the caveat that we don't have access to a mouse and keyboard and instead we'll be suiting up in VR and conducting one air squat every time we need to use the left click option. In the last episode, we conducted over 1250 squats in just over 4 days. Now, a little bit about me, I have the leg size and muscle mass of an 11-year-old boy, so doing that amount of squats in that amount of days was absolutely insane for me, and I had the worst DOMs in my entire life. We did, however, put those squats to good use. We made our way through Tutorial Island, did a few early quests for some key unlocks of the account, and started working towards our goal of 1 million GP in free to play. And before we get started with today's video, I want to say a massive thank you to anyone that watched, liked or commented on the last video. Small YouTuber things, but you made me feel like an absolute rock star, even though I probably look like more of a wanker. And if you want to stick around and follow the adventure, then please consider subscribing. It would mean the world to me. And I will be taking into account some of the suggestions like the squat counter for today's squats and also lifetime squats, paying a little bit more attention to my squatting form. As we work on our free to play money making skills, the goal for this episode, 10x our money and bring our total cash stack to over 250k. With the inventory set up the way it is, it might seem kind of obvious what we have in mind, but we of course are going to make our way over to Edgeville and start turning these gold bars into gold jewelry. Based on my crafting level, I'm going to start off with gold rings. Crafting gold jewelry in free to play is actually a pretty decent moneymaker. You can make over 100k per hour with a pretty small starting cash stack. Crafting gold jewelry is also considered an AFK activity. Now of course in RuneScape we don't actually mean AFK, more like it's low intensity so you can still play 3 other RuneScape accounts on the side at the same time. But this was a good thing for me. With my legs feeling the way that they were, I was very much looking forward to something less click and therefore less squat intensive so I could kind of just chill out and stretch my legs. Now because we're at the very early stages of the account, it means that we're going to get levels very frequently. This is a great thing for your dopamine receptors, however it will mean that we will have to restart the smelting process multiple times per inventory, which ultimately just means more squats. But we did manage to make our way through the first batch of gold bars and turn these 276 into 440. On our way back to the Edgeville furnace, we decided to unleash our inner noob and pick up an inventory of raw fish. As we got into the second batch of gold bars, it did start to get quite a bit more chill, with the levels being further and further apart. Now after finishing all 440 gold bars, we made our way back to the Grand Exchange to sell off our gold amulets for 69k. Very nice. And before finishing up with the episode, we decided to reinvest this into 700 gold bars, which would be used up in the next session. So we're finishing up with 34 crafting. We managed to do just over 300 in squats, bringing the total squat up to 1555. As you can see on the screen right now, it has been almost 8 days since I last logged in. I unfortunately came down with the IRL poison debuff, which is COVID-19. During my downtime, I was still playing other VR games, but obviously didn't want to full send with Squatman. And one of the notable games was Blade and Sorcery. Now this is an open source RPG game, and one of the custom mods that someone has made is the Old School Runescape map packs. So I had a bit of fun booting that up and murdering some NPCs in Lumbridge, and it just made me think how fucking cool it would be if RuneScape actually came to VR. For some reason I have this really weird craving to chop yew trees in VR. Nevertheless, we are back and more motivated than ever, and of course we do want to get underway and turn these 700 gold bars into gold jewelry. Before we do that, we are going to unlock another moneymaker. So we make our way over to the Varrock General Store where we'll buy some buckets, we'll go south and mine some clay, come back to the fountain and fill these buckets up with water and turn this hard clay into soft clay. That last bucket of water will also come into play in the future, but being the highly efficient, no XP wasted, calculated player that we are, we stop in a barbarian village. We turn the soft clay into pie dishes and then fire it up in the oven before returning to our favorite place on Gillinor, which is the Edgeville furnace. I noticed on the Old School wiki that gold necklaces were in fact the way to go for money making, so that's exactly what we did. We made pretty short work of these 700 gold bars and then converted them all into necklaces, then made our way back to the Grand Exchange in just over 170 squats. We cashed up, bringing our cash stack to over 100k for the first time in the account. I then bought myself a pot of flour which I had unlocked during Cook's assistant and then use this with the water to make pastry. Now, pie dishes and pastry can be used on one another to make pie shells, and this turns out to be one of the best low requirement free-to-play moneymakers in the game. This is a processing moneymaker, which means you don't get any XP at all, so it always feels a little bit bad in the back of your mind. But I did want to try it out, so I bought 500 of each and got to work. I'm not sure if this was just way too squat intensive or if I was still a bit gassed from COVID-19, but I had to abort the mission not even halfway through. I finished the day with 400 squats and bringing my total squat count to 1955. We came back swinging a couple of days later for a short and explosive episode where we finished off the pie dishes, which I do not think I'll be coming back to anytime soon. So after selling up the pie dishes, we made our way to Al Kharid, where we traded the gem trader to buy a cut emerald. We then made our way back to the Grand Exchange to buy 300 more of these cut emeralds and 300 gold bars. Now, for some reason, something went wrong and my Bronzeman mode wasn't detecting that I had unlocked gold bars, so I temporarily disabled it just so we could carry on with the momentum, but I will be re-enabling this in the future. In this session, we managed to get 260 squats done, bringing the lifetime total to 2,215. As we begin the final few sessions of today's video, we are going to be crafting emerald jewelry. Emerald necklaces in particular. Now, this is actually a really good moneymaker for anyone free to play working towards their first bond. There's not a huge amount to talk about here, but obviously I knocked out the 300 initial necklaces and then sold those to buy the supplies for 400 more. Went back later in the day and completed those as well before returning to the Grand Exchange and selling those off. We knocked out 415 squats today, bringing the lifetime total to 2,630. When all was said and done, we did reach our goal of 10xing our money, and we're even up to 47 crafting, which was quite surprising. Now, hopefully the next episode will be the last episode of free to play, and then we can finally play the game. We need to make up the remaining 730,000 GP, unlock a few more things, and fix our Bronzeman mode. Hope to see you in the next episode. Take care till then.